The rain was relentless that Tuesday morning in Seattle, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Barnaby, a 43-year-old architect, had always prided myself on my ability to design structures that were both beautiful and sound, foundations that could withstand any pressure. Little did I know, the foundation of my own life was about to crumble. My wife, Winifred, was a vibrant, ambitious lawyer. We had met in college, two bright-eyed students with dreams as big as the Washington sky. 20 years, a cozy house in Queen Anne, and a golden retriever named Gus later, I thought we had built something unbreakable. That was, until I started noticing the subtle shifts in her behavior. The late nights at the office became more frequent. The affectionate touches, once so natural, became perfunctory. Her explanations were vague, her smiles strained. I chalked it up to the stress of her demanding job, but a nagging feeling persisted. It felt like a discordant note in a carefully composed symphony. One evening, while Winifred was supposedly at a networking event downtown, I decided to surprise her with dinner at her office. I knew she often skipped meals when she was busy, and I thought a gesture of support might lift her spirits. I grabbed takeout from our favorite Italian place, via Tribunale, the aroma of wood-fired pizza filling the car. When I arrived at her firm, the lights were dimmed, and the reception area was deserted. I figured she was working late in her office, so I made my way down the familiar hallway. As I approached her door, I heard voices, low, hushed voices. I initially assumed she was on a call, but something about the tone made me pause. I pressed my ear against the door, my heart pounding in my chest. It was Winifred, and she was talking to someone. Her voice was soft, intimate, a tone I hadn't heard directed at me in months. "Oh, Caspian," she whispered, "I miss you too, every single day." My blood ran cold. Caspian. Who the hell was Caspian? I slowly pushed the door open, the pizza box slipping from my numb fingers. The scene that unfolded before me was like a punch to the gut. Winifred was locked in a passionate embrace with a man I had never seen before. He was tall, with piercing blue eyes and an arrogant smirk plastered across his face. Time seemed to slow to a crawl. The aroma of the pizza, once comforting, now felt suffocating. Winifred pulled away from Caspian, her face a mask of shock and horror. "Barnaby, what are you doing here?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "I thought I'd surprise my wife with dinner," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "But it seems I'm the one who got the surprise." Caspian stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "Who are you?" he demanded, his tone aggressive. "I'm her husband," I replied, my gaze unwavering. "And you are none of your business," Caspian retorted, taking a step closer. I had never been a violent man, but in that moment I felt a surge of rage unlike anything I had ever experienced. I clenched my fists, my knuckles turning white. Before I could react, Winifred stepped between us. "Stop it, both of you," she cried, her voice laced with desperation. "This is not how I wanted you to find out. Find out," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "So there was a plan. A preferred method for you to shatter my world." The truth spilled out in a torrent of tears and excuses. Caspian was a partner at her firm. They had been having an affair for 6 months. She claimed it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, that she still loved me. But her words rang hollow, devoid of sincerity. I didn't stay to listen to her justifications. I turned and walked out, the image of her embrace with Caspian seared into my mind. The rain outside felt like a cleansing baptism, washing away the illusions I had so carefully constructed. I spent the next few weeks in a daze, moving through the motions of my life like a ghost. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't focus on my work. The pain was a constant companion, a dull ache in my chest that refused to subside. I told a few close friends, including my best friend Benedict, who was as shocked and outraged as I was. "You deserve better, Barnaby," Benedict said, his voice filled with conviction. "She doesn't appreciate what she has. You need to get out of there." The thought of leaving Winifred, of dismantling the life we had built together, was terrifying. But the thought of staying, of living a lie, was even more unbearable. I knew I had to make a choice, and I knew what it had to be. I consulted with a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Prudence. She advised me to gather evidence of the affair, which would strengthen my position in the divorce proceedings. She also suggested I hire a private investigator to look into Caspian's background. The investigator, a discreet and efficient man named Silas, soon uncovered a disturbing pattern. Caspian had a history of affairs with married women. He was a predator, a master manipulator who preyed on vulnerable individuals. He left a trail of broken hearts and shattered lives in his wake. Armed with this information, I confronted Winifred. I presented her with the evidence of her affair as well as the information about Caspian's past. She denied everything at first, but when I showed her the photographs Silas had obtained, she finally broke down. "I didn't know," she sobbed, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't know he was like that. He told me he loved me." "Love," I scoffed. "He doesn't know the meaning of the word. He's a user, a parasite, and you, Winifred, were his willing host." The divorce was messy and acrimonious. Winifred fought me every step of the way, trying to minimize her culpability and maximize her financial gain. But I was determined to protect myself and my future. With Prudence's guidance, I was able to secure a fair settlement, one that reflected Winifred's betrayal and her attempts to deceive me. But the legal victory was bittersweet. The emotional scars of the affair ran deep. I struggled to trust anyone, to open myself up to the possibility of love again. I threw myself into my work, designing buildings that were strong and resilient, a reflection of my own determination to rebuild my life. One day, Silas called me with some unexpected news. He had been investigating Caspian's business dealings and had uncovered evidence of fraud and embezzlement. Caspian had been using his position at the law firm to siphon money into offshore accounts. I hesitated for a moment, then made a decision. I forwarded the information to the authorities. A few weeks later, Caspian was arrested and charged with multiple felonies. He faced a long prison sentence. Winifred called me, distraught. She begged me to help Caspian, to use my influence to get him a lighter sentence, but I refused. "He made his choices, Winifred," I said, my voice cold and unforgiving. "And now he has to face the consequences." I never spoke to Winifred again. I moved on with my life, slowly but surely healing from the wounds of her betrayal. I focused on my work, my friends, and my dog, Gus. I even started dating again, cautiously optimistic about the future. One sunny afternoon, while walking Gus in Discovery Park, I ran into someone unexpected, Caspian's ex-wife, Gwendoline. She was a kind, intelligent woman who had also been a victim of Caspian's deceit. We struck up a conversation, sharing our stories of heartbreak and resilience. Over time, Gwendoline and I became close. We found solace in each other's company, a shared understanding of the pain and betrayal we had both experienced. We discovered a mutual love of art, music, and long walks in the park. One evening, while watching the sunset over Puget Sound, I realized that I had fallen in love with Gwendoline. She was everything Winifred was not: honest, compassionate, and genuine. She saw me for who I was, flaws and all, and loved me unconditionally. I proposed to Gwendoline a year later, on the same spot where we had first met. She said yes, her eyes sparkling with happiness. We were married in a small, intimate ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. Looking back on the ordeal with Winifred, I realized that her betrayal, as painful as it was, had ultimately led me to something better. It had forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to rebuild my life on a foundation of honesty and authenticity. And it had brought Gwendoline into my life, a woman who truly loved and appreciated me for who I was. The storm had passed, and the sun was finally shining through the clouds. My life now is filled with love, laughter, and a sense of peace I never thought possible. I learned that even the deepest wounds can heal, and that sometimes the greatest betrayals can lead to the most unexpected blessings.